Lord, thank you once again for a wonderful day. Thank you for the weather you provided us and bringing us summer a couple months early. We appreciate all you've done for us. We ask that you watch over our entire staff and our city. We ask that you watch over our council tonight and make right decisions. We also ask that you lay healing hands on friends and neighbors that have illnesses and other issues that are going on today. We ask that all we do in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mrs. Haley, if you would kick this off by calling the roll, we would greatly appreciate it.
Mayor Shute.
Here.
Carlisle.
Here.
Ivy.
Here.
Lawrence.
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
Detman.
Here. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to discuss anything that is not on tonight's agenda, please see Clerk Haley. She'll give you a little slip of paper, and we'll listen to you a little bit later in the agenda. Mayor's report, please.
A couple things. CRA had the Roaring 20s a couple weeks ago. Nice little event. So had great weather. Just pretty nice. We had the Highlands County Fair ended last weekend and had a big fair this year, a record-setting fair for attendance. So it was really good. A lot of people showed out for that. Also, I have the last piece of my agenda. I have the distinct pleasure of honoring one of our councilmen tonight, and we get to say congratulations to Curtis K. Ivy Jr. for completion of the Institute for Elected Municipal Officials. So, Kurt, congratulations. Good job. So you're an official councilman.
The Institute let me out, so I
That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate
Thank you.
that. Council members' concerns, comments, liaison reports. Start on the left here, Mr. Lawrence.
Yeah, I just wanted to further that about the Highlands County Fair and say that a lot of people think there's not much to do around here, especially some of our young people think there's not a lot to do. But I read an editorial in the paper today. One of our young members was really complimentary on the fair. And for at least about 10 days, there was a lot for the young people to do, as well as us adults. So I think it's a great thing that the firemen do, and I hope that it just continues on indefinitely.
Thank
That's
you,
all.
sir. Mr. Stewart.
No report.
No report. The mayor always steals my
He does.
gusto every time.
Yep. Mr. Ivy.
no report.
No report. I have none either. That takes us to item number 8 on your agenda, folks. That's the consent agenda. There are 4 items on there. If there's anything you would like us to discuss on that, please let us know right now. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve all 4 items.
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as proposed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Anybody want to comment on any of those 4 items? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. No business on, I'm sorry, no old business on item 9, but 10 business, item 10, new business. We'll start right out with a waiver of Civic Center Fees Humane Society. Miss Judy Spiegel, I see you there. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Judy Spiegel. I'm from the Humane Society of Highlands County, and I'm dogless tonight. I know.
Well, I have one of your dogs, don't I, at home.
A lot of people in the room have one of our dogs, so that's a good thing. It was surgery day, so we were busy today. I didn't get to bring my girl. But anyway, we are having our annual auction again this year, and we are once again asking if we could ask you to waive the fees to use the Civic Center. It's a pretty big event for us, and it brings in quite a bit of money to help us continue doing what we do.
Gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
Sounds good to me.
I'll move it.
Sounds like a move, and it sounds good to me. So is that a motion and a second?
I got a motion and a
You got a
second by that,
motion and a second from
so,
Mr.
yeah.
Stewart. Anyone in the audience like to chime in on that? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Item
Thank-
10B is the waiver of Civic Center fees, retired and
Thank
senior
you.
volunteer program, the RSVP folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Juve? Did I pronounce that correctly? Juve.
That's okay.
Juve?
Jude.
Juve.
Jude.
Okay,
Hi, good evening,
very good, I'll
everyone.
remember that.
My name is Chris Juve, and I'm the coordinator for the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program at South Florida State College. And I'm here to request the waiving of the fees for our annual Retired and Senior Volunteer Program Volunteer Recognition Luncheon. So this year, we would like to recognize at least 200 of our nearly 400 volunteers that served almost 52,000 hours, which equates to over 1.2 million savings to our county. Our volunteers serve in the areas of healthy future, environmental stewardship. We serve veterans and military families. We provide disaster preparedness, education, and work in the areas of economic opportunity, and serve, many of the food pantries and the food bank in our community. So we would really appreciate you waiving the fees so that I can spend more money on our volunteers.
Thank you, Ms. Juve, that's very, very nice, and you guys sure
Make
do.
a motion, we approve as requested.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, we have a second, and I just wanted to finish things. Keep it busy. Anybody in the audience want to chime in on this one?
I think, is that on the 30th?
That is on the 31st.
Okay.
Originally, we were looking at the 30th, but we changed it to the 31st.
Yeah, 2 different days, so.
Yes.
Okay,
March 31st.
Kathy, call the roll.
Cardall,
Yes.
Ivy,
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you
What a
very
great
much.
organization.
I
Yes.
appreciate it very much. Item 10C is a waiver of Civic Center fees for New Hope Elderly Care Services. Ms. Gardner. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. My name is Ingrid Gardner. I have the privilege of being the Executive Director of New Hope Elder Care Services. First and foremost, I want to thank you for your previous support of New Hope. The Speakeasy Soiree is a fun 1920s themed event. Each year we have seen an increase in revenue that is raised at that fundraiser. Since 1975, New Hope has provided comprehensive services for seniors and their caregivers, which prevents premature nursing home placement. I've been working quite diligently on our annual report, and I'm really, really proud to say that New Hope has served here in Highlands County over 340 seniors. Of that 340, there are 174 that live right here in Sebring. Unfortunately, we know that food insecurity is something real for older adults. Statistics show that 1 out of 6 seniors suffers from some form of food insecurity, not knowing where their next meal is coming from. To me, that's unethical, but your support helps us to address that. Our home delivered meal program delivered over 50,000 home delivered meals in 2019. That's to 163 seniors in Highlands County. Unfortunately, and I'm sure that you all are aware, that with our organization, there is often a wait list. As of today, there were 190 seniors on that wait list for home delivered meals. Your support will help us to address that wait list. So again, thank you for your previous support, and we look forward to serving another 45 years.
Very, very nice. 1975, that's pretty great. Oops.
What a great group as well. I'd like to make a motion to approve the request as presented.
I'll second it.
Same two guys, okay. We're making the motion on the left, the other one doing the second of the motion. Is anybody in the audience would like to speak to the New Hope agenda item? You have to call the roll.
Cardall,
Yes.
Ivy,
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Detman.
Yes, congratulations. Ms. Gardner.
Thank you so very much for your
Very welcome.
support.
Yes, ma'am. Liz Barber and Christy Vasquez here, either one. Hi, Liz. Item 10D is the Sebring Soda Festival, a nice annual event.
Hello there.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Liz Barber, President and CEO of the Sebring Chamber of Commerce. Christy was unable to make it today. She had to attend to something with her little one today that was a little unexpected, so I told her I think I got it. So I'm just here to talk about the Sebring Soda Festival. I know that you guys have everything in your packet, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but there's a few things that I did want to mention. We were very lucky to have a fantastic partnership again this year with the Highlands County TDC, who is also working with us and kind of co-promoting this event as well. The CRA is a big part of our family fun night that will be on Friday, so they're co-promoting and putting together that part of the event as well. We are expanding this to a 3-day event, so it is continued to grow. First year we had 3,500 people. Second year we had 9,000. This is our 3rd year, so we are expecting between 10 and 12,000 this year. It is continuing to grow, but unfortunately that also means your expenses continue to grow, so we are asking if you would assist in waiving those fees that are shown there.
Any questions or comments?
I just have a comment. I want to say that I think it's a great thing that you're doing. This is a different event, if you will, and I know there's not a lot of competition for this around, so I think that's one of the reasons you're getting good attendance. So
Exactly.
I think-
There's 2 soda festivals in the United States. There's one in Illinois and there's one here.
So I think it's great. And
Thank
I
you.
also have to tell you that I think you picked a great day for it too, in regards to it's not like in March or something when we already have a lot of stuff going. And great day. Thank you.
So I'm curious about one thing.
Certainly.
How are you integrating with the church services?
Well, that's actually going to kick off our Sunday event. So
Okay.
that'll be part of our event program, is at 11 o'clock. They're doing their church service, and then the festival will be happening around it, but we won't have anything on the stage. So that'll actually be something that our event goers can go to the church service. It'll be open to the entire community. So they're excited because they get to kind of promote to people who don't normally, aren't part of their
Right.
congregation.
All those extra people.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we
well,
just
that's
decided
cool.
to work it out together.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
That's a nice idea.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve as presented, the conditioned upon the Chamber of Commerce providing liability insurance coverage of at least $1 million with the city named as additional insured.
Okay, we have one.
Second.
Who's the second?
Oh, here's Mr. Ivy.
Mr. Ivy will be the second on this one. Ms. Haley? Anybody like to discuss anything that's on this agenda item for the Sebring Soda Festival? It's your 3rd annual, correct? Very nice. Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lance.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Item 10E
Thank you.
is a public hearing. Ordinance number 1447, changing zoning and future land use for property located at 2520 Lakeview Drive. Ms. Jennifer Cotto Salisbury, if you would please come forward. I'm sorry?
Just read the purpose of it, so.
Oh, yeah, okay. Let me, under the background, the city of Sebring, city council is considering an ordinance which, if passed, will change the zoning and future land use for the property located at 2520 Lakeview Drive. The zoning would change from R1 to R1A, from R1 and R1A to planned development. The future use would change from residential medium density to residential high density. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive input on the proposed changes. The Planning and Zoning Board at their February 11, 2020 meeting recommended approval of both the zoning and land use changes with conditions outlined in this document on pages 6 and 7, if you happen to have them in front of you, of the Central Florida Regional Planning Council staff report. Would you mind going over those pages so that everyone out here knows what those conditions would be?
Good evening. For the record, I'm Jennifer Cotto Salisbury with the Central Florida Regional Planning Council. And I did want to ask council if you would like to hear from the applicant first, and then we'll follow with staff presentation, or if you would like to hear the recommended conditions of approval prior to the applicant's presentation.
Guys, what do you, let's go ahead and go with the recommended conditions first, and then we'll have the applicant come forward,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
We have a PowerPoint tonight so that everyone can see the recommendations on the screen as well.
I think Scott's trying to get it up right now. Kathy, did you pay the electric bill?
I did. I'll just go over the conditions while those are.
There we go.
Well, as you had mentioned in the overview, this is really two items are before you. One is a future land use map amendment, and the second is a rezoning. The property is located at 2520 Lakeview Drive. Today, the future land use is medium-density residential, which allows up to 12 units an acre. The proposal for high density has the potential to have a higher density of up to 40 dwelling units per acre. There is an accompanying rezoning. The zoning on the property today is R1A. The proposed rezoning would be to planned development. Planned development allows for, with the zoning, a concept plan to walk with the rezoning to planned development and conditions of approval. If anything were to change with those conditions or the concept plan, they would have to come back before public hearings. The applicant has requested a total of 16 dwelling units on the property. The planned development would limit the site to 16 dwelling units per acre. So while you have that higher umbrella of land use, all properties have land use with a maximum density potential. Although the potential under high-density residential is 40 units an acre, that underlying zoning would restrict the property to 16 units per acre. The purpose of a planned development is to offer flexibility in design, also allowing for additional conditions which may also be beyond the requirements of the Land Development Code. As we took a look at public facilities, there is infrastructure to support the development. And of course, the site has 2 buildings on site today that in the past have been used for multifamily. This is in the ordinance and the package. It's hard to see bringing it into a PowerPoint, but this is the property, and it does show the buildings, and there are copies of the PowerPoints up front as well. The conditions of approval are outlined in Schedule B of the ordinance, and they're also on the screen. The first condition, again, limits the property to 16 units total, 16 dwelling units. The conditions also say all applicable requirements of the city's code of ordinances apply. The parking spaces must be designed consistent with the city's code of ordinances. Phase 1 is the renovation of the existing buildings, and that must be complete before any new buildings are proposed on the property. And there are 2 new buildings proposed, if we could go back one slide. And there are 2 new buildings, one here and one here, that are proposed on the property. Each one of those would be 1 dwelling unit each at about 800 square feet. Going back to the conditions, again, renovations would have to occur in the existing buildings before any new construction would be allowed on the property. In condition number 5, all approvals for renovations and new buildings must be consistent with the Florida Building Code. They must be consistent with all fire prevention codes, life safety code, and the city's code of ordinances, and all applicable requirements before any certificate of occupancy is issued. In addition, the landscaping prior to certificate of occupancy must be properly installed consistent with the plans that are submitted. This plan development in Schedule, I believe it is Schedule D, provides the landscape plan. That's a binding plan, and if it has any deviation, it would come back to council unless there's more landscaping, that would not come back, but any less landscaping would be required, and the applicant will go over what he's proposing for that. No outdoor storage would be allowed on the property. And- oops, go forward, sorry. With the back of the property backs up to developed residential properties. A decorative opaque fence would have to be installed along with additional landscaping if 2 new buildings are constructed in the rear. The new buildings would respect side yard setbacks of 7.5 feet, rear yard setbacks of 25 feet, and any new buildings must be at least 15 feet apart. And with that, we would turn it over to the applicant. Also, as part of the ordinance, if approved, there are binding conceptual renderings of what the buildings would look like when renovated. These would be binding, and the development should be consistent with these renderings.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Okay.
I got one on the parking. Is there off-street parking now? And how many spaces?
There are off-street parking spaces. The applicant has drawn out the parking on the site and believes that he can get up to 16 parking spaces on the site. If he cannot meet the city's code for the parking spaces, then that would be inconsistent with the code, and they would have to come back for special approval. But the code requires 1 parking space per unit because this is considered a multifamily development.
Okay, and that's off-street parking, correct?
Correct, that would be accommodated on the site, and,
Yeah. Yeah, on-site.
oh, I'm sorry, on-site.
On-site, yeah.
Yes.
Those 16 spaces are on-site.
Correct,
And there is no off-site parking.
that is correct.
Right.
Just got a question.
Mr. Ivy?
While we're on the parking, so you have 16 units and you have 16 parking places. And we're not anticipating any visitors or anything to these apartments, I imagine. Is that, you get where I'm going with this. Also, that they marketed it to the seniors, example, you got 1 handicap parking. If you market to seniors, you got 1 handicap parking. So I think parking is really undeveloped here, or needs to be developed more in a question.
The problem with that is that's our code.
Yeah.
So if it complies, we can't say anything about that.
Well, can we, because it's a planned development, can we put restrictions or conditions?
That's possible.
That's my point. Okay.
Is it, Jennifer, is this the parking drawn in here?
Yes.
It is, the parking is
I mean, is that,
over to the right of the.
that's
the
not,
space.
that's not even close to scale.
I will turn it over to the applicant,
Okay.
and that actually is why it's a condition of approval.
Okay.
If the concept plan is approved, they cannot deviate from the code standards, so they
Yeah,
may.
You can't, I mean, if you drive, I've driven in there, and you can't, I mean, they've got the angle parking going north and south, you gotta do a loop to park on the one side, and right now, you can't even, I mean, you couldn't get in there, so like a 12-foot between the left side and the right side, there's like 12 feet. There's no way you could swing a car around that. I mean, we'll ask the applicant if that's what it is, but it just doesn't, this isn't the scale at all, so.
Are you talking about Schedule C, the concept plan?
Concept plan is
Okay.
what we're looking at
Yeah.
right now, yeah. It shows a scale right here, but,
Yeah, but if you go down here, if you
Yeah.
go to the parking on the roadside,
yep,
that's 42 feet
right.
across. So if you take, and your parking spaces are what, 18, 19 feet? If you take half of that, and you're already halfway through that parking lot, so.
What's the minimum parking requirements? Lee, do you know offhand?
How deep?
9.5 by 18?
Yeah, I guess, we'll hear from the applicant, but it's
Sure.
just, I kinda had that same concern, cause I drove in there,
Yeah.
and it's just
Gotta
like,
get out.
you couldn't get in or out, especially the way they want the parking, so.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm sorry, anybody else have any questions of Jennifer? Thank you, ma'am. Can we have the applicant come forward, please, and help us out?
Well, good evening to everybody.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Hello, good evening to everybody. My name is Javier Fracci. I'm the owner of Berkshire Business Investment who owns this property.
Okay, thank
I would like to make a brief introduction about the place and then answer most of your questions about the parking and some other stuff that has been called out during Jennifer's comments. I'm gonna make it just brief because I know you have the package a week before. Yeah. Well, Berkshire Business Investment bought this property in August 2019, and then we bought it. When we bought it, everything pointed out that we could start all the works to renovate it just right away because all the documents has been presented that this was a multifamily, that it was a plus 10 multifamily. Tax records show it that. Some of the documentation presented by the seller and all the parties show that this place could be restored in the coming months. When we came in November last year, we came to see the state of the property, which is the state of the property is like that. Like the picture number 3. It was the old pictures of the place that I will tell you in a minute. The current state of the place was like this. It was all dirt, bushes were growing, everything was green and falling apart. Windows were broken, doors were in bad shape, and so forth and so forth. When we tried to pull out a permit, we were denied because some benefit of the property has been lost. And on our due diligence with realtors and some lawyers and everything else didn't come up. So instead of start fighting with everyone, we decided to work alongside with the city and then the regional Florida planning to make a plan that would work for most of the parts, community, city, and us as a business. So since November until now, we have been working with both sides alongside all the time to make a common sense presentation and common sense idea about this place. When we came in November, we did some fixings. We took off trees, we cleaned up a little bit the facade of the property, and we installed some lights at night because when you were walking there, you couldn't see even your feet. I think you know the place because some of you maybe came by one day. So, and this is the current state of some of the units. One of them are in better shape, some others are in bad shape. Our goal with this property was to renovate it, refresh it, and make it almost brand new, in order to bring affordable housing to Sebring. I know from interviews that I have with officials and from people of the city that the city is growing nicely. And the city needs efficiencies, 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms, and even 3 bedrooms. So since November, we have been working on this idea to bring affordable housing to Sebring people. We see that there's an opportunity to bring workers who are coming to Sebring, new people who's coming to live by. There are also doctors, teachers who now are not living in affordable places or nice places. And there's a big range of people who can live in our properties. But we think there is a chance for professionals, seniors or medicals or teachers who need a nice place to live while they work at Sebring. So when we started this idea, we think there are 13 units on the U-shaped building, and then there's another house at the rear right of the place. Most of them are efficiencies, except there are 3 one-bedrooms. One is the house, and then 2 on the corners are 1 bedroom. And this place used to be run by several people before me. This used to be run by a family called Hart, then Dick Miller, and some other people used to own it. Indeed, the name of the place, Lakeview Terrace, comes from 1924, when this was built by G.C. Barrow. So at the end, we are not making something new. We're not making something out of our hat. We are just doing almost the same things that have been done before. Just this place needs to be completely renovated because it's falling apart, and it's a nice piece of art from Sebring. So let me show you what are our plans to this place. First of all, we need to do a facelift of the outside because it's really falling apart. So our idea is to paint and do the stucco once again, change the windows, put new doors, put solar lights, and comply with the landscape proposal that we did, that you have in your packages. Then we need to put the irrigation system all over the place. This is how it would like at night. We're going to put a lot of lights to illuminate the building and make it just beautiful. This is how it's going to look like with taking into account the landscape design that we submitted. We're going to install new shade trees and lower edges across the place, a new irrigation system. The place right now doesn't have even irrigation system. So the former owners, I don't know how they used to irrigate the place, but because it doesn't have any kind of irrigation system at all. So we're going to be the first one to do this. Then we need to enhance the parking space. The parking space has been already used for the former owners and former owners. So we already have the lines, and we have already the place also almost done. We need to make it brand new because it's in bad shape. Regarding the place, most of them are efficiencies, and efficiencies are close to 300 square foot, and then the one bedroom are close to 550 square foot, and then the house is much bigger, it's close to 800 square foot. In order to, one of the things that the PD has is to be innovative, to bring new ideas to Sebring and make it economically viable. I used to travel a lot, and luckily I took a lot of ideas from Sweden, where I used to know a little bit, and from other designers around the world. So living in the smallest spaces can be done if you do it wisely and you take advantage of all the square foot that you have. So right now we would open the kitchen and make it just one piece of a space, the kitchen and the living room. We would install new flooring. Then we will need to put a wall between the two bathrooms and the closet. Here is a closet. Down here is the bathroom, which is very small. We could put a wall and install some storage for the people to put their things. The people could put their TVs and have a very spacious kitchen. This would be the bathroom. So the bathroom right now is much more smaller than you see here, because it has a bath tube. We could get rid of the bath tube, install a shower, put windows. Some of the bathroom doesn't have even windows. And then we could put new furniture, new stylish furniture, to make it just more appealing to the people who want to live here. This would be the one bedroom. Of how it would like. We will need to install a closet because it doesn't have even a closet. Here we have the drawings of all of them. This is house, and some slides back we have the wall plate. After the first hearing, this is how it's going to look like the house after the remodeling. Again, we will make an integrated kitchen and living. Then we will renovate the bathrooms and the closet of the house and everything else. So one of the things, this is could be innovative because we will bring new ideas to Sebring and new styles to Sebring. After the first hearing, it's the same people like the first hearing. After the first hearing, I invited most of the neighbors who were here to try to understand their point of view and my point of view. So I met with Frank and I invited Jerry, and then I knew Robert and Martin, some of the people, to know this project and understand their fears and concerns. Most of the concerns were about the traffic and the parking and obviously the building we're proposing at the back. At the back of this place, there's an enormous land which nobody did anything before. It's dangerous for us, it's dangerous for the neighbors, and something new can be done over there. We propose, first of all, if we do this first phase of remodeling all the units, then we'll be able to submit a new paperwork to build a house or two if it's possible. If not, one house gonna be fine for that. So regarding the parking has been designed by one supplier we have about this aspect, who makes the asphalt and all these kind of remodelations. According with them and some other people we call about this, we can make there up to more than 16 parking spaces. That would include one for disabled with the asterisk. This place cannot allowed or be think for elderly people because this place is from 1924. Even the ADA requires you like a 45-inch width for one of the entrance, which the building doesn't have. We would need to tear off some part of the building just to comply one of the ADA's requirement, which is the width of one of the entrances. And then we will have to lower a lot of the ground, which is almost impossible because down the ground you have the sewer and all the tubes. So we can make up there more than 16 parking spaces, up to 20 according to our supplier. Even if we would need more parking spaces at the end of the U-shaped building, at the back of the U-shaped building, we have more space to build more parking spaces, even if we like to. So we can pour more than 20 cars in the place by doing more investment than we already thought. So the parking space at the end works because we are complying with the law. One parking space per people, and all cars will be registered in our database, so nobody can park on the street. If someone parks on the street, me or my people here in charge gonna call the city for tooling the car. And regarding one of the other comments that the people used to tell me about the flow in the street, we cannot control the flow on the street. That's something real. But we can make the best parking space that we can, given the conditions we have with the land and the spaces. Then the other issue or the fear of the people was about the kind of people. We have two ways of attracting people, maybe three. First of all, it's about the price. If we lower the price too much, we're gonna compete with a lot of people, and we don't want to compete with a lot of people. If we're gonna do investment, we need a return of our investment. So the price is going to be as high as we can to bring the most common sense people to this place according to our investments. We're not going to put cheap materials on that place. We need to do plumbing, we need to do electrical, we need to do flooring and ceiling brand new. We're not going to put two things new. Everything is going to be new. And the other thing we can do to attract different people is to make this place livable. So brand new, shiny, a new garden, new landscape, an appealing landscape, appealing managers. That we can bring new people, and then we can put all the filters that we want that are viable possible. At the end of the end, the people's behavior, I cannot control them. I can make most of my control zone to make it the best place available for the community. The other thing we can do to improve this place is try to make the most appealing unit as we can, with good materials, good colors, brand new stylish, and so forth and so on. These were the main two concerns that I had from the people, and that we're planning to do. If we do the phase 1 and we comply with everything that we're being asked about, a lot of things which is on the contract, then we would be we would be in position to propose the city again the possibility of make something on the rear of the property. Indeed, in November, we tried to buy more properties at both sides to make more space for our complex, but we were denied that we couldn't join them. So this is the idea of Lakeview Terrace. We bring some innovation. We're bringing some investment. We could satisfy most of Sebring needs, which comes to accommodation. If you have any kind of question, or if you need me to repeat something again, just let me know.
We'll start on this end.
Well, again, I'm gonna come back to the parking, and it seems to me that, that it's very limited on the parking. And so, I would like to see at least, by our code, 1 per resident, but also we probably will, some of them will have guests on occasion. And, so if we can do that under the planned development, to add at least a few parking places for guests, I think that would be one of my concerns.
We're proposing two guest parking, which make up to 20% of that area. Even if we make the smaller units or something like that, or bigger units, we can accommodate certain quantity of cars. We cannot make everyone's happy.
Well, I understand that,
I mean,
but by the same token,
If someone wants to bring a party for 30 people, we cannot accommodate that.
well, and nobody can really.
At least we
you
can
have
make
big
up to
parties,
two
but we're
guest
looking at
parking and
ordinary.
for a limited time there.
We're looking at ordinary usage, and people are gonna have some guests once in a while, so I would certainly like to see that, and maybe a plan that's more to scale, so we can see that this really works,
Well,
but we're taking your word for it that it does, and if that's the
It
case,
was
then
clearly by
that's-
the ordinance of 9.5 by 18 on that survey. We can make it bigger if you like, but it was done with a required measurements.
Yeah, I think you need at least a few for guests, a few parking places for guests.
So I'm curious about the parking as well. Maybe our building inspector can be a part of this conversation.
That would be Lee.
How you doing?
Mr. Griffin, please.
Can I clarify, you said there were you're proposing two sort of temporary spots for visitors. I'm seeing 16 on what's been submitted. There are 14 units presently, and you're proposing 2 additional units.
Then we after that drawing, we send a new one with all the maximum quantity we can put on that place. Maybe I can send you the updated drawing, because
These are
we
just
we
really
did
hard to
it
read.
we did it before I traveled here. I left Argentina a few days ago.
Are you intending for all of the parking to be on the east side, or you mentioned something about perhaps having some parking behind the main
We can
structure?
we can make behind the U-shaped building. There is a parking space. A land we can use as a parking space, and we can accommodate cars over there. Originally we never thought that land to be used like that, but it can be used for parking too. But we did a brief study on that. We need to dig further to see if the land we can use it as we like. Given the commentary I received from the supplier, we can use it. We need to take down a tree and make the space drivable.
So you actually hadn't identified a use for the property behind the main building?
Well, it's empty. We can use it for parking or for another thing. It's right at the back of the U-shaped building, just where the units 6, 7, and 8 are.
Yeah, That may get into the allowing for green space though on the property too. You're supposed to allow for some green space, so.
Well, green spaces, we have a lot at the back.
So, my question, in regards to the parking is, first of all, have you been there? I'm sure you have, many times.
Certainly,
Okay,
Greg.
is there an aggregate size in addition to the spaces that's required? And if so, does it comply with that?
We've got a couple issues that's going on, and it'd be very speculative of me to provide some sort of judgment.
Okay.
What needs to happen is he's gonna need to present a site plan that is, designed to scale.
Right.
The parking spaces that are on there are not designed to scale.
Okay.
First of all, he does have minimum green space requirements. You get a 60% impervious max. So he's got some issues to work through there.
Right.
My recommendation would be that he find a design professional and address those
Mhm.
issues individually or collectively so that he can come
Mhm.
back if you decide to move forward with it.
Yeah, so I don't think we can really make a decision until we know those fundamentals.
Those are two very important questions,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. So I have a couple other questions, if you don't mind, sir. 300 square feet is the smaller ones, and then 500 are the larger ones. I'm curious, have you come up with a dollar figure? And this is not really pertinent to your getting approval or anything, but have you? That you're gonna rent them for?
Well, we done studies. I am friend of one of the I'm friend of Le Mans owners.
Mhm.
He already owns some other buildings. They're renting. They're renting. They have, well, Le Mans apartments. They have efficiencies.
Right. Sure.
1.1, 2.1, everything. At present, the efficiencies are full. 1 bedrooms are full, and even they have a waiting list for other
Well,
properties.
but how much are they renting for?
They're
Do you
renting
know?
for 550 the
Okay.
efficiencies, and 650 or 700
So
1
you're,
bedrooms.
you're looking for a similar amount?
Well, in their case, their current shape of the units are not.
As nice as yours are gonna be?
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing that, the other day at the zoning meeting, you indicated that you're gonna have mini splits for every one of them.
Yeah, the mini
Okay.
splits are going to be outside
And are
of
they
the.
are they gonna be individually metered? Every building gonna be individually metered, or is it gonna be one master meter?
No, the idea regarding the electricity, everyone
Yes.
would pay its own electricity.
So individually metered for
Yeah.
every one?
Also
And
the
you're gonna
water.
put, I'm sorry. you-
Also, for the water, we
Both.
will like to install
Okay.
water submeters for each unit.
Okay, what about, and you'd mentioned that you're gonna put the units out front,
No,
which
no.
really surprised me because, you're not gonna walk, I mean, you're gonna have 12 units out front in the courtyard.
No, I mean, the split motors are gonna be, let me find very much. The motor would be here, also could be at the roof, but we decided to put it here because it's much simpler to make the requirements of maintenance by putting it here instead of the roof. We can start on the roof, but it's.
Yeah,
on
what
the
about
side.
the back?
Well, the back would be the cars,
No,
in
okay.
this- The split, the AC would be here, and the motor would be here. If we install them at the back, it's gonna be much more
Okay.
difficult for the installation to pull the cable all along this area to feed this AC.
Mhm.
So it's much simpler, much more safe for the future to put the motors here than in the roof or at the back. At the back, at the roof would be nicer because you don't see it. But put someone here to install all the units is not gonna be interesting or safe for anyone. So here the motors would be much.
So
safer,
by the,
much-
by the doors, by the front doors.
Yeah, close to the doors,
That's,
like here.
okay, so I don't know if really that's our purview, but that
We
seems
will-
a little
maybe
weird to me.
What we thought also to put something to
Mhm.
to hide them, to make it more nicer too.
Well, you're gonna have irrigation out there is what I heard as well, so.
Irrigation is gonna be all at the back and here, and here too.
Okay.
This place doesn't have irrigation, yes.
No,
so-
I'm aware of that. That was certainly that was an idea I was wondering if you planned on doing that. And I'm grateful that it's in your plan, so.
Mr. Carlisle?
Kathy wants
I'm sorry, Kathy?
No, I was just saying he just needs to speak more in the microphone because it's not coming out.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's not,
sorry.
it's not recording as well. If you
Yeah.
can speak into the
Oh,
microphone
sorry.
just a little bit, that's good. Okay.
Thank you.
Mark, anything else?
No, I just think that we're really not able to make a real decision until we understand the parking. I mean, I think it's kind of a moot situation until we know if it can really happen or not. And as far as the other two buildings back there, like I'm not really adverse against this project if it's put back to what it was and done well, based on the amount of units. Because people are living in smaller spaces now, and I'm all about that, micro apartments and tiny homes and things of that nature. But I don't think we should add to what's there as far as numbers in that very small area and also the traffic issue. So I don't think I would be a proponent of changing it to the other zoning, the future zoning where he could put 40 units per acre personally.
Nice swimming pool would go back there.
Well, no, the swimming pool was here. In the if you check the Sebring's history book,
Yeah.
you'll see the pictures that the swimming pool was here, and at the back used to be like a paddle court.
So you actually don't have any plans for a swimming pool?
No. It's too dangerous for everyone.
Wanted to go down that road?
Even we thought, given the people's concern to think the idea of making bigger units, but we need to see if that's possible or not regarding the architecture. We need to
Right.
Yeah.
to know that we always talk about cosmetic changes or small changes to the inside, because that was one of the comments we got from our work with the city and the authority. We can think about joining units and making it bigger units and have more space if you like, but the parking for us can work because we have from here to here, and in the 70s and the 50s and in all other ages there used to be cars over there. I know making something
Well, I
innovative.
appreciate that, but maybe it should be drawn up by a professional so we can see it and not just be guessing. Because right now, that's what you're asking us to do is surmise.
And ADA spaces are wider than a regular
Well,
space.
the point is that the building cannot accept ADA requirement, because you see here, here's an entrance for the building. This place has 30 inches wide. The regulation asks for 50. If we want to comply with the regulation, we have to tear down all this building.
We can't hear you again.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So
ADA doesn't apply to the building.
Even if the units themselves were not ADA compliant, wouldn't it be appropriate to have an ADA space for a visitor? I mean, it seems to me. I mean, I don't
We're
know,
talking about
and
doing
actually,
one-
probably neither do you, so that's another reason we need to have a drawing done by a professional.
When we talk about with our supplier, we can make one of the spaces for the waste disposal, and one reserved for disabled people. Nobody gonna use it because this place cannot accept people with any disability. I'm sorry for that. but
Yeah.
This place was
Yeah.
built in 1924.
Understand. Is there any
Can't-
other comments or questions
Yeah,
from the
I got-
dais?
I got a question,
Okay.
or
Carlisle.
a couple of them. Is it legal to have a building without ADA? to
Yes,
Start with?
it is.
Okay.
I mean,
And sec-
based on the age of the building.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Second of all, you was talking about parking back in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. Today, if there's two people in an apartment, there's two cars. I live by myself, I have 3 cars. So, one parking space per unit's not gonna get it, I can tell you that.
That's cool.
Right, but I think the concern is that you've got a number of units, so if the density were lower, then the parking could be
Right.
sufficient with the
Well,
lower
can they
density
get
than
around
as is
back?
proposed.
How do you get
Right.
around back to park?
Right.
You know, and I agree, we
have
we
three
need
parking
more
spots to
information to
get
even
back.
make a decision.
Well, we haven't even talked about the density yet.
Right, and we need to hear from the audience.
Sure, Kurt, no, this is a public hearing. If you remember when we opened this up, so you guys are next. You pick a number and we'll tell you. Mr. Ivy.
Mr. Frache.
really would like to see somebody do something with that property.
Sure.
That's
Yes.
a good thing. I commend you on
Absolutely,
making
yeah.
that effort
Absolutely.
to do that. A couple of things. In your lease, I guess you're counting on the rent, the amount of rent to keep the clientele where you want it. Is that a fair statement? Your renters,
Yeah,
yeah. You're gonna have your lease payments high enough?
which we need to get a return of our investment. So we have two ways of maintaining the people in the place: giving a good service, good quality of materials, and a good place run by decent managers. Our aim to try to attract the best people is by design, quality of the materials, and then we need to filter by price. I don't want.
Yeah.
I don't live yet in the United States, but believe me, I don't want to have junkies in my place or people who make trouble. We're gonna try to filter the most people that we can because our houses shape us. So I want to make a place where I could live here. So I don't want to make any indecent place or troublesome place.
You're
On the
gonna have-
contrary, I was quite open to speak with most of the neighbors and meet them in January, in November, and now in this opportunity. So I know someone who comes from London and do whatever he wants.
Okay, that's where I was going a little bit with that, with the neighborhood. I mean, if I lived there, I'd be a little
So it's
concerned
not
about
going to
that.
be $1 a square foot, that's for sure.
Well, that and the type of lease that you have signed, you're putting in there, the
Sure.
types of control
Conditions.
that you want there, in your and this is your business, so I can't tell you, you know what to do, with the lease that, would get you to control behavior and everything, cause I've been there, it's, these people seep in sometimes, and it's hard to, one person gets there and three of them flop down with them, and that's how it goes. So I think a good, strong lease, which would be helpful. I think that, I don't want to get into your personal finances, but we have a number of projects here that people have come in and bought the buildings, have no money to fix them. They sit there and deteriorate. We sit there and code enforce them, and the money just builds up, and there's nothing we can do about it unless we foreclose on it and go through that expense. Then we got a rotten building. So, and some of them are historical, so that there's a conflict there, and you got people that, look at the historical side of it. So it's a real conflict there. And so I want to make, like I ask a personal question, I hope you have the funding to complete this project is where I'm going with that. And
Well,
you can say yes or no, I'm not investigating that, but
Well,
just a comment. I
Believe
wanna
me,
make.
one thing: I traveled 50,000 kilometers to be here. If I didn't have the money, I wouldn't be here.
Good enough.
Or
Okay.
even I didn't buy the property. You can call Tom Barrett and ask about me, or Gaston Siroid about me, and you'll see what kind of person I am. Even more, you can see my track record. I interviewed Jack Bogle, who's the owner of Vanguard. You're a banker. You know who Jack Bogle is, and that man didn't give any kind of interviews to people who.
That's fine with me. I just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah, he didn't mean that to be personal.
No.
I mean,
No, but I mean,
We've had-
the question is good, but I wouldn't be here if I didn't have the money.
Well, we're a little gun shy right now. We've got
Yeah.
two nice buildings downtown that have been owned by a gentleman for how many years now?
Several.
A lot. And they're not being renovated. He doesn't have the money, he hasn't been able to secure the funding, and we're sitting here with our hands full of that.
No, I am aware of that
So-
situation. I read the newspapers about these two buildings. My idea is not to be
Yes.
that one. My idea is to build a reputation here, and do more things at Sebring in the future.
Good.
This one is an obstacle for every one of us because when we bought this property, we thought we could renovate it as soon as we can, and then we found some things that we wasn't aware of. But we have two aptitudes. We can fight we could fight all day long, or we decided to work with the city alongside this project. So I am on the better side of the equation.
Okay, well, this is a public hearing as I opened it up, and now we need to hear from our audience, from our citizens. So the gentleman in the blue shirt in the third row had his hand up numerous times, so if you can come on up, and then I think, Gary, I think you're next. And I saw somebody else with me, maybe the gentleman over here.
Well, I was gonna let Mr. Blackman take it.
Well, you
My
wanna
name's
do
Frank
that?
Franz. Yeah, if he wants to.
Go ahead,
Okay.
tell us your name again, I'm sorry.
My name's Frank Franz. I live across the street from there. I was there when it was open for business, and it wasn't a very pleasant place. And the parking was never enough. They've always parked down our cul-de-sac on the streets and everything like that, and no one does anything about it. You know, they park there, they fill it up, and God knows who they are. Next door to it, we have that same situation right now, where it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house. Now they've made it into like a 4-2 or a 4-4, and they've rented it out. They've just thrown 3 of them out. Their police are there constantly, and I know that's not what he's planning on renting, but that's what ends up happening. And then they have parties. You end up having multiple cars there, multiple people there. At one point, there were people there that they shut the power off. They had a generator. They ran the generator for 3 weeks. I called and called and called, running a generator 24/7, and I'm across the street from it. The issue I have with the park, and I hope he built it. I mean, I hope they do something to it, because we've looked at it for me and my wife and my family have looked at it for 11 years like that. It's terrible. We'd definitely liked it, but it needs to fit the area that we're in, because everybody is trying to renovate their houses. Everyone's bringing them up. We just don't feel it fits that area. One question I had about the parking there, are you allowed to back up into the sidewalk? Because the sidewalk runs right along that perimeter there, where he's drawing. I didn't think you can back into a sidewalk.
We just need a real
Right,
drawing.
right.
And so
But I
we're-
didn't know
we're
if that was
handicapped
code
to answer that question.
or not, you know,
Yeah.
because of where the sidewalk is on this property.
You can drive across the sidewalk. I don't think you can back up along the sidewalk.
Or
back
park on
into-
it.
Or
Yeah.
back into it, because that's where the parking spaces are. But I was just curious about that. I didn't know if that was something there. But I'll let Mr. Blackman take it, and I am glad that he is doing something with it. I just hope
We are
it's
too.
the right fit
Sure.
for the area.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Blackman, please.
How are y'all today?
Good.
Good evening.
I'm glad to see something possibly gonna happen with this building. I just wanna make sure that it's consistent with the area, and as much as y'all would if it was across the street from your house too. And I think that my ideas can solve a lot of the problems, the parking problems. The biggest problem here, the big white elephant in the room, is the high density zoning. That's what's creating the problems. It's creating parking problems. It's not conducive to the area. There's no other high density within a mile of it that's less than $250,000 units, of which we all know which ones those are, and that's not gonna be what we're driving for here at less than. And it's 272 square feet per apartment for the small ones, which would fit about right there. So, we all know good intentions are good, but where that'll end up, you know, as far as what type of a person, especially if it doesn't qualify for ADA, so you're not gonna get the retired people wanting to move in there that want a small little apartment, a single person. Because if it doesn't have ADA parking, if it doesn't meet ADA requirements, you know, it's just, the high density is just wrong for that. It was initially built in 1924 as an efficiency motel, and it wasn't even 12 units then. It was 11 units plus an office was what it was zoned for back then. And that was 11 motel units, which were short-term, or essentially meant to be short-term because there was a swimming pool and it was basically an efficiency motel that people would, Mr. Seaborn would have friends come in and stay for the weekend. Things have changed in 100 years. You know, I know that you see a lot of smaller buildings and smaller apartments in metro areas and people trying to go to that because so they can hold their costs down. It's not as big of a deal here because your cost per unit should not put you in a position that you've got to put them in a shoebox. You've done a lot of remodeling and so forth. I wanted to address one of the things that he had said earlier. He was planning on, he spent $275,000 buying the property, and he had $250,000 set aside for the remodel of the units. Okay, if there's 16 units and the back two are gonna be brand new, I don't know what's new construction now, Mark. Is it average foot, just for, just a.
$90.
$90 a square foot
Yeah.
at $800 apiece.
Yeah, that's low
That's
income.
16, so that takes out $130,000 out of his $250,000 budget to redo 16 units. So now you're down to 14 units, and you've only got $110,000 that you're gonna remodel from top to bottom, rewire, re-air condition, bring them to code, bring them to fire code, kitchens, and a complete bath and all new replumbing. For
Don't forget
less
the-
than
don't forget the roof.
$9,000 apiece.
Yeah, don't forget the roof.
And the roof. I know. So obviously, the numbers don't work there, in as much as they don't work for the parking lot, because that parking lot right here is 38 foot across here and it's 121 to here. That's less than 5,000 square foot of parking. You know, you're not gonna get 16 cars in there with the ability to back them out, turn them around. Excuse me. You're not gonna be able to get 16 cars in there, with or without ADA, plus a dumpster that has to go there. And the other thing is one of the flaws in this theory is it's green space area. He's short on green space area and wanting to put units back here. This is his designated green space area percentage-wise. The other thing he was saying was putting parking back here for the extra, if he runs this as high density. He'll need extra parking, but he's not gonna get it here. It's not gonna magically appear. I've been there with a tape. The only way to get to that, because this is already encroaching on the property line, this is encroached on the property line over here. The only way to get back here to do parking is coming right through the center of your parking here, and you lose 3 spots, all right, there. Then you're gonna lose your green area when you pay that for parking, which has to be paved in a planned unit development. It's just that I keep reverting back to the same thing. It's just, it never was meant for high density. High density is not what it should be. I want to see it do something, but it needs to be at least what it was at before or less, and make it work from there. Because you can't take an 1/8 of an acre property and call it high density in downtown Sebring on Lakeview Drive. It just doesn't fit. You know, I just have some real concerns with all good intentions, or all bad problems seem to come from good intentions, and y'all have the opportunity here to send this back and say, yeah, we want to remodel it, we want it to look good, we want it to work for the guy so that he gets an ROI that works for him in this area within reason, but it's just not, high density is not where it needs to be. It can't be that, because it just won't work there. I've screamed enough. Any questions?
Well, Gary, I want to bring this to a kind of a personal thing. In the mid-60s, my mother managed that place. I actually lived there, and there was a parking issue even then.
Well, you had 3 cars.
We had
that's
3
why.
cars.
No, I didn't have 3 cars.
You had 3 cars
I
back
couldn't
then?
afford 3 cars.
You had 3 cars back then too?
No,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
couldn't afford them, but I did have a car. My parents had a car, but there was an issue even then, and all the apartments were never rented.
Yeah, and I just, like I say, I'm not against development.
I'm not either. I
Y'all
want to
here know
see
that I've
something
built
happen to
developments
it.
here.
It's
I've
a-
done apartments,
It's
I've done.
it could be a
planned
nice
developments
looking
here.
place, but you're right, density.
High density is not the ticket for that one.
I have one question for you.
Yes,
real
sir.
quick. If he didn't do the 2 houses in the back and just renovated the front the way it was done, would you have objections to it at that point?
Still, because of the size of the units, yes, he could take that, and if I can get you to roll that picture back to the front of the. Okay, whoop, you had it there for a second. Right. I'll get out of the way.
It's there somewhere.
No, the one that showed the landscaping. Next one,
Keep going.
right there, stop. If you look at these, they're the way this is designed, it's got 2 doors here and then 2 in the corners. Because I had looked at buying this piece of property at one point in time, and I was gonna change it to 6 units, which was 2, 2, and 2. That gives you 2 car spots apiece, gives you 6 units to rent. Your cost of renovation goes down because you're not putting in you're not putting in 12 kitchens, you're putting in 6. You're not putting in 12 bathrooms, you're putting in 6. And your square footage also is, and your AC units, you can put in a higher capacity unit and put it around back, because these are gonna be sitting right out front, just like they are on his other project, which is right down the street by Gilbert's Trucks. That is parking in the street and parking at the kids' daycare center next door, because there's street-only side parking there, because it's so packed in there, because it's high density. But yes, you can still keep the consistency with the old style look by having the 2 center doors here, and that would either go to a bedroom door or whatever, and finish out the stucco, because this is not a concrete block building. I hope y'all know, this is what they call it.
Plaster and lath.
It's tile.
Plaster and lath.
It's a tile building.
Yeah, so I imagine it's got termite problems too, but that's
No question about that.
after 100 years.
It's
So
in Florida.
To be honest with you, my gut feeling was by the time he gets to that 250 and he's at 500 with his estimates to redo this thing, it's gonna get crushed. But then the bad thing is, if y'all approve this at high density zoning, if he crushes that, he'll still have to come back here, but he'll have a foot in the door on saying, well, y'all approved it for high density, now I'm just gonna make it all brand new. I'm not saying that that's what's gonna happen, but it's a possibility that could happen, and by opening that door, it just lets you get that much further in there. I wanna see something done with it. Obviously, I just wanna make sure that it's right, because it's right next to my house as much as y'all would if it was right next to yours. No matter what it is, as long as it's right for the area. That's what we're looking for. Thanks.
Johnson?
I just had a question. Y'all were talking about, you had
State your name for the record.
Craig Johnson. You had a couple buildings that people bought and they haven't done anything with it in years. So, and did they request zoning changes and stuff when they buy that, or my question is, like on a project like this, is it out of line to require them to escrow if they say this is what it's gonna cost? Here's the plans, and I agree, you gotta have plans. You can't go by somebody's drawings that aren't certified and up to code and specs. And then when they say they're gonna do it, can you not require them to escrow the money so that you know the money's there to complete the project?
No, sir.
You can't.
Love the idea, but no, sir.
Okay. That was my question. That's what I wanted to know.
Not even if it's a historical building? I don't know. I would just, that's a question that came to my mind too. What if it's not that this is, but just for common knowledge? You would think it would be possible if it was like a historical monument building or something that somebody's guaranteeing that they'll.
But this thing's not on the register.
Okay.
I don't see how they would be required to put money with the city to ensure that the work gets done, as long as they're not, if there were subdivision improvements, internal roadways that they wanted to be public, green space that they wanted to be public, that'd be different. But if it's all private, then no, sir, I don't see that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? This is public hearing. Anybody else want to come up and speak on this issue?
Can I address his comments a little bit?
Sure.
It won't take long. First of all, even if we make bigger less unit, the parking is going to be always an issue in this place. Even if we make 1 unit, everyone wants more parking, more cars, and all of that. Then the cost of construction, they're not going to come down enormously, because ACs is 1% of the total cost. Kitchen is 3% of the total cost. It doesn't come down too much. The most important costs are labor here, and then truces, flooring, woods, stucco, parking. Those are gonna. I do understand Jerry's point of view. Indeed, I invited him to talk several times about this, but his argument of the cost going down like magic, it doesn't work like that. Because of the percentage I told you, the most important part is labor, truces, cables, stucco, paint, flooring, and we're not gonna put any cheap flooring, we're gonna put good flooring and all of that. Then we got an of making less unit. We thought, as I told you before, we thought about doing that, but then we have to see if we can do it in time, because we wouldn't be doing cosmetic changes. We were tearing out walls and putting new walls, and when we spoke about this with the two sides, we spoke always about do a smaller changes, not to tear apart all the building or inside the building.
Javier, our city attorney would like to make some comments, if you don't
Just
mind.
understand that the council is considering the density as the issue. They're not
Right.
wanting to weigh in on how much you spend on what level of
I
flooring you
do
put
under-
in, but they are concerned, the density is what's, sounds to me like the concern that is driving the inadequate facilities to support that density in this area.
Even if we make 11 units or 12 units, the park is always gonna be there, and we're offering to do more than we thought originally. So even if we make 11 units in total, the argument's gonna come always with the parking and the cars and all that, and that's at the end of the day, it's people's behavior. If people want parks in the street, there should be a law enforcement to take out the car and put it away.
Fair
I don't
comments,
have the
but
point of view, but also we must be common sense too.
This property was allowed to remain as a multifamily unit because it was built that way prior to the zoning changes that disallowed it in that area. And it was allowed to be maintained as a non-conforming use until the
Due
time
to the
it was
grandfathering,
stopped being used for that. And now that it has, the decision to make this as a medium-density residential area all around that was made a long time ago. So this is not directed at your proposed activity.
I know, I do understand your point of view. Also, what I'm telling you is that we can make some of them smaller, but at the end, the issue of the parking, it always come up. And it's,
Javier, I think you're getting warmer, okay? I think
No,
you're
no, I'm
moving
okay.
in the right direction. I don't see, an aggressive appetite for the high density up here. I haven't heard anyone in support of it yet, so thus far. It is medium density now, correct, under the
Yes, sir.
R1A. And could you work that project under the medium density rules and regulations?
we want to make it work. That's the point. When we start this process, we demanded both sides what the best density or code or tag or whatever you want to call it to make this project work. Because I don't like to lose time and put my money on treasuries until I get an idea of what I can do with this.
Right.
We want to do it. The money we have in an account for this is sitting in treasuries.
Right.
I don't like to get real negative yields for this. Believe me.
Yes, sir, I understand.
Yep. Well, it sounds to me like we're coming to a pretty good closure here on the public hearing. Because the very next item is, if we're going to vote on this, and we're already not hearing quite an appetite to move toward the high density, then we're gonna there's quite possibly end up starting all over again. And so will you. So in other words, if the council votes it down on the next agenda item and says, no, we don't wanna do that, we don't wanna go to residential high density, what's your plan? Can I ask you that? Is that a fair question?
Sir, can you tell me again the question, because I didn't understand. I'm so sorry.
If we go to the next agenda item.
Yep.
Which asks us to vote on this ordinance change or zoning and future land use change, and let's say we don't want to approve going to the high density residential, and if we want it to remain as it is, which is medium, what would you do? Put a
Well-
for sale sign out in front of the place and move along?
No, I will need to see which obstacle I have, which new obstacle I have in front, and see how they sort them out. I know I like this place.
Yeah.
I like it very much. If I didn't like it, I never could.
You wanna see a show of support? Is
Well,
there
I-
anybody out here that doesn't wanna see this property brought up to speed?
No, we all agree on that.
So they're all there.
I think
They
we-
just don't particularly like, if I'm reading this crowd correctly, they don't want this high residential approval to take place tonight or anytime in the near future. Now, the ball's back in your court.
Can I make a suggestion to you, possibly? If you drop the two houses off in the back and keep the front to, let's just say maybe 10 or 12 units, and figure out a way to do that, and come back with a professional drawing that shows us that the parking places are there, you might get a little bit better chance of making this thing go.
I'm seeing a couple of heads going like this. Some are going,
We do want to see you renovate this place. It does need to be renovated.
Oh,
There's no
absolutely.
question about that.
Absolutely.
So
We
it's just a
prefer not
matter
to see it
of
bulldozed.
how it can get done to where it's profitable for you, and also to where your neighbors can live with what you do there. So that would be my suggestion to you.
and I think under those circumstances, unless I'm talking out of school here, this body here and our building officials would be more than happy to work very closely with you on that.
We have been working closely this 4 months.
Yes? And here we are tonight, getting ready
Yeah.
to. Okay, if there's not any other comments or,
If I
sir.
can, you can ask for an up or down vote on the proposal that you've submitted for a change to high-density residential for 16 units. If that's approved, of course, you get it. Council can approve it with conditions, or deny it. If they deny it, you can't ask for another rezone for 12 months unless a majority of the Planning and Zoning Board authorizes it to be reheard again. So if you wish to reconsider the number of the density of units that you'd like to ask for, my recommendation is to ask the council to not consider it further until you bring back a revised plan. It's up to you. You can ask for a vote on the application that you have submitted, and they can do that.
Okay, I will bring a new plan so everyone is on board and we can all work together on this.
I think the key is the.
I don't want to
parking
spend
space.
another $3,000
correct.
on applications and flight tickets and all that. This is not a happy joke for me.
We will have to re-advertise the next public hearing on it, but
Okay. Anybody want to comment on that? It's a public hearing, you can say anything you want. Up, down, sideways?
Let me know when it comes up again, and I'll look at the plan. I'd love to see something done with it. There's not a person in this room that would rather see it.
That's why I asked that question. Everybody wants to see it renovated.
And right there at it. So I just, to me, it just makes more sense to get it to a number that you have the parking, you have the ability to make it meet ADA and fire code. You can get, I would love to see 35 gray-headed users like me sitting in front of the rocket chair.
And it may not be ADA, because it doesn't have to because of the age of the building.
Yeah, and that would just be, that's just more conducive. And
Right.
whether it's 6 units or 8
He
units
needs to
or
be at the
whatever,
microphone
I
if
think
he's
if we can
talking.
get something that's
Need the password,
suitable for
right?
that area, that the rent is gonna put it into something that's conducive to that area, I think you're.
No.
I'm sorry.
I'm all for it.
Okay, Mr. Fracci, why don't you tell us what you'd like to do then, tonight?
No, I will reconsider the numbers of unit, and I will bring you a new plan, so everybody can be on board, and we can do something with this.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate that. So, item F.
We close the hearing?
We will,
Tom.
Close the public hearing.
I'm sorry, let me close the public hearing, I'm sorry. And what shall we do with item F here then? Mr. Swain, just,
I would table it.
table item 10F, which is the ordinance 1447, changing zoning and future use for property located at 2520 Lakeview Drive. I need a motion on that.
I make a motion we table.
Got a motion over here, we got a
Second.
second over here. Is there any input from the audience? We do appreciate you all being here, and we're very happy to hear you from you. Ms. Haley, please call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Item 10G is Veterans Beach traffic flow. For all of you who are out there and just can't wait.
Wait, where are you going?
Where are you going? Now, this is part of the gig, you know. You can't come back if you don't stick around.
almost stayed for this when you speak.
All right, we'll take just a half a second here. Thank you all for being here. Okay, Mr. Griffin, Mr. Fields here too?
He's coming.
He's coming? Does he have anything to say? Let's make him stay here and nothing to say and then send him home. He's been here all day. So have you. Go right ahead.
Alrighty, Greg Griffin again, building official, and we are here again to present the traffic flow pattern at Veterans Beach. There's been conversation on both sides. There are pros and cons to both sides of the traffic flow. We hear feedback, of course, from both sides. Personally, it doesn't bother me to back a trailer at a 45-degree angle, but I've backed tons of trailers up in my life. There are a lot of folks who do struggle. A lot of the contemporary boat ramps are designed so that folks can pull their vehicles straight and then back straight up.
That's kind of like me, yeah.
Not a big deal on a regular day where you're putting 2 or 3 or 4 boats in, but on holiday weekends when everybody wants to use their boat, you do get quite a bit of stacking.
Yeah.
And the other challenge is you've got traffic going against each other, so people will pull in on the right-hand side, prep their boats while people are pulling out in the exact same direction. So the first 4 or 5 parking spaces get blocked or more. Again, we're here to aid in the discussion.
Gentlemen, what's your pleasure? Who lives closest to the boat ramp?
Mr. Ivy does, actually.
Mr. Ivy, let's start with you.
I can't back up, I don't even know what.
So you like the straight idea?
Yeah, I've worked at that.
You had a motorhome, you had me back up for you, right?
Well, the original where we really had the traffic going the other way, where you back straight in and then you pull straight out. I know there's a safety concern about pulling around where the parking is, but people do that anyway. Either way, for me, I think backing straight in, I think it's quicker. I mean, I know that, I'll give you a quick little Miami thing. They gotta have cops at the boat ramps on the weekends down there because of the fights that go on, because of people trying to get their boats in and can't get their boats.
It's probably a matter of time. So.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous. But for me, coming in, as I'm looking at this top on the left, coming around, pulling, and then straightening, and then backing in is what I would go for. I know that there's a differing of opinion, but that's where I'm at.
That would be what I would do.
Well, Greg, you know, some of us drive and pull trailers all the time.
For a living.
And we back trailers in whatever angle we have to. Some of these people pull boats, that's the only time they back anything up.
Oh, yeah.
So we need to make it as safe as possible, and backing straight in is the safest possible way. And I understand that pulling around the traffic, but on a busy weekend, we're talking about kids and stuff, I don't care what direction the traffic's going, kids are gonna run everywhere. So the parents has gotta watch them, the guys driving's gotta watch them, but I would prefer to pull in, get straight and back in. I just think it's a safer way to do it.
Anybody else?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
My biggest concern comes down to safety. And literally, I believe if you can't back a trailer in, you probably need to go home and practice a little bit more before you come to the boat ramp.
But we can't make them do that.
Right.
Well, no, but you can help right now to keep the kids from getting in front of the big trucks. So if you have them coming in opposite to the traffic patterns of what we're all used to driving, which is on the right-hand side of the road in this country, and you're going to have them coming in on the left-hand side and going out the right-hand side, that's going to confuse not just the locals to start with, but all of our winter visitors as well. In addition, and this is what really concerns me, it's the safety of those little 4-year-old kids. When mom pulls up there, she's got 2 kids with her, she lets the 4-year-old out of their car seat first, walks around the other side to get the baby out, and that little 4-year-old is going to see those swings over there that we set up for him in that playground, and he's going to run right across that road. So if we do it the other way, the boats and the trailers never have to go between those parking places and the park. And I'm going to hand this out to you because let me pass this down. Just take one. And this way, people are used to coming on the right-hand side and leaving on the right-hand side. And then those parking places that the people that don't have boats that use that park, they never have to deal with the trailers. And there's also an X there, as you can see, for that little island at the end, and that needs to be out of there. One way or the other, that needs to be out of there because that just makes it a narrower spot for people to pull in and back up. So we're enhancing the width of that driveway there to where it will accommodate vehicles going both directions. And that's exactly what I believe we need to do so that that little 4-year-old doesn't run out in front of some big truck that's pulling a boat and they don't even see him because he's down here and their truck's up here. So I think we need to go with our original plan. We discussed this last June, I believe, and came up with the fact that an opposite traffic flow is going to be very confusing for everybody. But my biggest concern is the safety of those 4-year-old kids that are going to use that park. So.
I agree on safety, but if a truck's coming in, if he's coming straight in, he can see those kids better.
But what happens when you stack up those trucks and you got 3 of them sitting there now, and then somebody moves and that little kid's going across there and he's not going to see him. But if you see on the drawing that I've done here,
They're still gonna stack.
pardon? Yeah, but they're going to stack away from the parking places for the park.
They'll turn right up in there where those cars are and stack.
Well, they don't have to. I think
They
they'll
don't
stack.
have to, Charlie, but they will.
Well, I think they're going to
telling you, we're
stack up
dealing with
on
the
the
public.
side where they're coming in on the right-hand side. And you see, you're going to have 2 at the
well.
boat ramp. You're going to have 2 over there at the turnaround at the backup place, and you got a couple out there on stacking up. I mean, they're going to stack up all the way out to the road on 4th of July. But this is for most of the time, most of the consideration. Again, I'm coming back to the safety of those 4-year-old kids that are going to go from, and it's not the boaters. It's the people that pull up to use the park.
It's safer to back a trailer straight in. I drove a semi for 3.5 years. Everywhere I loaded was a straight back, everywhere, because they said it was safer.
Yeah. There's no question it would be easier for the boater.
No, it's safer.
But it's not, I don't believe it's safer because I think you're looking at it. But if you can't back a trailer up on a 60-degree angle or 45-degree angle, again.
Anybody else want to comment on this?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate one thing here is that the times I've taken my boat, I've used the pattern I'm calling for, and I haven't run over anybody yet. But the coming in, it's easier for me to do that and back up, and it's quicker, and no fuss, no muss. You get people frustrated, they get jackknifing their trailer. I don't think, I think it's better to come in that way. I mean, only because I've done it. And no, I'm not an expert at doing that, and really where I live, there's no place to practice because I have to go across Lakeview, and I'm gonna get killed, somebody will, waiting for me to, they wanna fight you because you're trying to back it up in there. It's I don't like to take their trailer out if I don't have to, that's why I have a boathouse.
Do you have any comments, Mr. Stewart?
Well, I'm inclined to go with the stack recommendation.
Okay, so I think we've discussed this pretty well. Anyone else have any other comments from the audience as well? Yes, sir, please come forward and state your name. And where you live.
I'm Danny Copeland. I live a mile from the ramp, use that ramp for probably close to 40 years.
Yes, sir.
I pull a trailer 5 days a week, 4 days a week, it's a boat. I use every public boat ramp in the county because I work for the county. And I pull an airboat every day, basically. I actually went before the board one time a few years back with Carl Cool, and we submitted drawings for those pylons. They're the barriers at the ramp, the metal barriers that go out in the water. That's a design I came from Lake Ship, brought it to Carl Cool. They brought it down and put it in. I kind of agree and disagree with some of what both of y'all said. I like the way the ramp is angled now, because what was happening in the past is if you were even with that bathroom and you had parked over in the trailer parking area, the cars here, if you had two cars, if you pulled in, parked your trailer, you had a trailer on both sides of you. Now, the parking lot filled up behind you, you couldn't get out, because you understand you'd have to back all the way up to your truck, clear of that trailer before you could turn the wheel. Your boat motor would be into the cars.
Yeah, it might be a little tight, you're right.
It's not a little tight, you can't get out. You can't get out. You can't turn the boat out of there. You can't take a 20-foot boat in a truck and get out. So angling that and making those deeper, great idea. Angling the other parking area, I mean, I'd love to see it one row of parking, but not gonna happen. So with 2 rows, angling it the other direction, you are getting quite a bit more wide area there. I will tell you that I don't think you're gonna have people coming. I personally agree with what you said, coming in on the far side. That's only when it's not busy. Because what's gonna happen is, we don't drive on the wrong side of the road, so 80% of the people are not gonna come in there. If there's nobody there, I do exactly what you're talking about. I go in by the bathrooms, come down and turn around. It's an easy way to do it. Not gonna happen on a busy day, promise you. These 2 lanes that you got, one in, one out here, that ain't gonna be either. They're both gonna be coming in off the road when it's busy. Those 2 are gonna be coming straight in towards the ramp. This is gonna be your exit by the bathrooms. That's what's gonna happen. 4th of July weekend, all of it, it's gonna be 2 coming in. Sometimes, when it's not so busy, you're gonna have the far south lane coming in, and the middle lane will actually get to leave there. You're gonna have people pull out of the ramp, pull straight ahead to unload, or to fasten their trailers down. Some will go right and go by the bathroom to get out. It's a terrible situation because you're trying to get a parking area in the middle of a boat ramp. That's what's wrong with the whole design. You got a parking area in the middle of a boat ramp. One thing, that part down there where that island is, man, please God, don't put that there. At least you got room to turn the trailer around, because you could come straight in on the south end of the ramp, come down. You don't even have to go up by that bathroom. You could do a U-turn right there. If there's not many people there, you could turn around right there, because you made this area towards the swimming area wider. You've moved it back. Now you can turn the boat around. If you're not real good at it and you need to pull up to the right, you could. But that's going to be an exit. That one by the bathroom, that's going to be an exit. I'm just going to tell you that just because you own a boat don't mean you can back a trailer. And I promise you, I watch it every day. I'm at a boat ramp every day of my life, and some of this is great and some of it's not. Please leave the island out. I mean, I think the 2 middle lanes are going to be used 2 ways. Sometimes it's going to be an entrance and exit. Sometimes it's going to be 2 entrances. That's going to be your escape route out the other way. I know Charlie, what he's saying is true. The kids crossing out of the cars in front of this, yeah, I mean, that's an issue. It's a little bit of a liability there that, people are going to have to watch their kids. I do agree with him that's going to be an issue. I still think no matter what, people are going to use that. They're going to pull up in there and they're going to use it for an exit if they need to. They may pull straight ahead if there's no cars involved. If there's nobody waiting, they're not stacking up, they may pull straight ahead. But when they are, they're going to use that as an exit. There's going to be 2 exits. That's just what's going to happen. It's going to be, that center one's going to be exit and that other's going to be an exit. Sometimes there's going to be 2 entrances in the middle when it's packed up. You can't get everybody to come in off the road by the bathroom and come in there. They'd be down Lakeview. They'd be to Charlie's house. They'll be lined up past Freddie's house around the corner, because it'll stack up. I don't know. You guys do what you think's best, but leave that island out of there and hope for the best. That's about all you can do there.
You're talking about the island right at the very entrance?
I'm talking about the
Or you're talking about the
island
extra?
down there. The
The
island
one
down.
that Charlie had already put the extra.
Yeah, that needs to be
Yeah.
an X.
Okay.
Because you got
What
that.
about these 2 here?
The ones up top?
Yep.
I would leave as much room in those areas to get out and in as I could, simply because a lot of people will just run over stuff. The islands, the cars on the end, if you've got a good exit there where, you know, because the way it is right now, people are turning where that island is, they're turning there and going out there. I would leave that end open pretty much so that they could just get out.
I think the only real concern is most people, unless they're there on a regular basis, are going to turn in if they're coming in from the highway. That, they're gonna wanna turn in there. There's no question about it.
The south end?
That's the way most people.
Absolutely,
always-
that's what they're gonna do.
absolutely.
They're not gonna go against traffic and drive
I
on the
think
wrong side of the
Once they're in there,
road.
they'll figure out how to get out okay.
Yes, sir.
But I think coming in is gonna be a big issue.
Leave those islands off and leave them plenty of exit room out there by the road. And like I said, you know, some days it's gonna be where you're gonna drive in on the south end, you're gonna come down, and if you leave the south, that island next to the water off, you're just gonna do a big U-turn right there. You're not even gonna pull over there, because you're gonna leave enough room. You know, if you do anything, leave another, take a couple parking spaces out of that area, leave plenty of room on that east side down next to the water, so that people got room that can't back a trailer. Because you're right, Lenny, I mean, Leonard, not everybody backs a trailer. Straight is better. If they can turn it around right there, they can turn it around.
Well, basically what we're talking about is herding cats.
Man,
It
I
don't matter
agree.
what you do, people are gonna do what they wanna do.
Yes.
But you can give them arrows, you can show them
Well,
what to do. If they
yeah,
want to
well,
break
that's
the
what I'm
rules,
saying.
that's
It's
on
basically,
them.
it's like herding cats. You can,
But,
you can
yeah.
do all the safety stuff you want to.
But I was gonna
but
say-
people are gonna do what they wanna do.
I was gonna say for Kurt Ivy there, if you can't back that trailer, they got that truck out now that does it automatically for you.
I've already bought one that doesn't do that. I admit I'm challenged.
Well, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna let you guys sort it out, but if you would leave a little bit of those islands out, maybe leave a little room there. You're right, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. If there's nobody there, they're gonna use the entrance next to the bathroom. I don't care how the arrows are. The arrows are there now. I think I go in the wrong way if there's nobody there. But if there was more room down next
You're
to.
the problem.
I know. Next to the swimming area, if there was more room right there, I'd just do a U-turn down there.
Well, the reason they would come in that way under the proposed, well, that's actually Charlie's, is because of the angle parking there.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's the only reason.
Yeah, and they could come
Because
down,
now it's-
swing a U, and be lined up
Now
straight.
it's perpendicular, or whatever you wanna call it.
Right, right. But y'all see the issue. They're gonna do what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
You're gonna get very few to come in on that next to the bathroom entrance and come down that way. It's just, they're gonna all wanna come in the other way.
Yeah.
So if that were the case, then you're gonna have cars doing this. If they were supposed to come in there, well, you're gonna have these guys pulling in this way that they've always left, and they're gonna be pulling head on. I mean, in a perfect world, I just wouldn't swim upstream. I mean, that's what you're gonna be doing. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, folks, where are we on this?
May I make a couple comments regarding design?
Yep.
The two islands that are at the top closest to Lakeview Drive, those are narrow, and the reason being, one is for the people towing trailers to turn around and go back into the cycling lane.
Mhm.
Okay, the other, they're close together so that they can put wayfinding signs there.
Makes sense.
That's part of the
Yeah.
design.
Yep.
Also, the island that's at the bottom end is there for the purpose of keeping people from parking cars there. Because if you leave an open space, someone will make a parking space out of it. I'm sure you guys have experienced that before. Those are just a couple design considerations that were in there. I wanted you guys to be aware of.
Can you make those islands smaller? Especially the one on the water side?
Sure, we can make it shallower away from the water side. That, I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah.
And what they use to determine the size of these, they use a 50 to 75 foot radius, which is the max radius for most boats and trailers that are gonna go into there. So there's plenty of room for a boat towing a trailer to be able to make that turn without catching axles.
Oh, sure. That's what I said.
You can concrete more than just a small
Correct,
stripper
yeah,
on the
it'll just be a
outside.
regular J curb, so just like a curb, so even if somebody did have an exceedingly large trailer or couldn't drive, they're not gonna wreck their trailer making the turn, they're just gonna drive on the curb.
Okay.
Right
Is
there.
is there any way to, I'm gonna say, lose this island at the bottom, create a situation where folks can come down, pull up this way, okay, into the spaces that are here to back their boat in, so therefore they are much closer to a straight.
You
angle,
can, but
right?
you lose parking spaces.
You're gonna lose some parking spaces, but I'm wondering whether you can gain them at the top end somewhere, or whether it's worth just losing them.
The problem is somebody dragging an 18-foot boat's gonna have a relatively tight turning radius. Somebody coming back from the coast that's gonna rinse their 30-foot center console is not going to have a tight radius. You know, it's a triple axle trailer that's gonna need every bit of a, 50, 75-foot turning radius.
So they're gonna come in this way.
They would come in the bathroom way. That gives them the easiest.
Right,
easiest
they're gonna
turning
come in the
radius.
bathroom way.
Yeah, they would come in
because
that
they
way.
can turn-
Anytime
it
I've
makes
driven
that turn.
a big boat in there to turn it around, so come back from the coast, I always go that way.
Keep in mind, again, let me just reemphasize on mine, you can still come in through the bathroom and do what y'all are saying and back your boat straight in if you want to. But it doesn't have two exits going out against the traffic. So if if somebody insists on coming through the bathroom, they still can. But for most people, they can come in on the other side, on what I'm gonna call the south side, and turn in here and back in. So you're gonna eliminate 90% of the people from coming down by the bathrooms, and again, I'm just gonna reemphasize and say it's a safety issue for the kids that are using the park to me.
Charlie, let me ask, on the proposed attachment number 2, okay? There's only a 16-foot opening there. On yours, it appears like you've shaved a corner of that bump out considerably off. How wide would that be, do you know? I mean, I know it's not done to scale, but you have an idea? Would it be 20 foot?
I'm not sure I'm
What
not
Charlie
following
did
you.
was, here's your 16 foot here, and he shaved this off considerably.
Oh, yeah, up here on the entrance,
Yeah, so what's the, how many feet do you have at that entrance there then? Right there, Charlie.
Oh, I don't know, and I didn't do it to scale, but I'm gonna say it's less. Yeah. on this
Is
one
it
here.
enough for the
Yeah.
two-way traffic like you're showing?
I'm gonna say that it is, and that's just, I went by there today and I drove with what's there.
Right.
I took my RV over there, which is about almost 40 feet long.
Yeah.
And I turned in there, and the way it is now, there's no problem with the two-way traffic there.
Right. Did you see that, Mr. Griffin, where he took this bump out and shaved it back and opened up that 16-foot small opening?
Yeah, and
To
I
make
think-
it two-way
Yeah, and I almost wanna think that the engineer drew it that way to
discourage
Eliminate
people from
people
going
from
that
coming.
way.
well, I'm gonna say slow and direct people coming in, right there,
That was intentional.
right? So
There'll be
that-
signs
that
that
could
say
be- that
entrance
could be
and
shaved.
exit.
Two big red signs.
That could be
there.
shaved.
Do not enter.
Can I make a motion?
Come on.
Well,
why not?
well,
Let's finish our
just-
discussion.
just for discussion, so in our discussions here, is there any support to remove, and I'm gonna say the island that's closest to Lakeview?
The bump out?
The first island you come to,
Oh, this one here.
Yeah. I
right?
think that helps control the traffic.
Right.
That's the
Yes,
whole
if-
idea.
If you're going to change the pattern, I would keep those two islands in place so that you have places, A, to put signs, and B, also to
Yeah, you
control
have to have
traffic.
that.
That
If you leave it,
controls the traffic, Scott.
if you leave it 2 lanes wide, you're gonna get traffic going both
And if
ways.
you don't put signs on them, they're gonna use them for whatever purpose they want.
Correct.
I know you don't wanna go home, but.
Yeah.
It's all right. We're here.
Let's get
You
it
need to
right.
get it, you need to get it ironed out.
Well, I think, I make a motion that we approve the modified traffic flow shown in attachment 2.
I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? I just don't like traffic coming in the way everywhere else, I wanna say, in the country, comes in on the right side, goes out on the left side.
That's what they make signs
But,
for.
well, I know, I understand that too. I'm
And
just
some people
making
can't
that
read.
comment. And if it was opened up, and you had two-way traffic that could accommodate both the boats
But the
and.
boats, the way they got the parking, the boats go one way. Well, we got a motion, did we get a second?
Yep, we have discussion too. There's always discussion when there's, anybody else wanna discuss it? Otherwise, we'll call the vote. All right, Kathy?
Yes.
No.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm tired of talking about it. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, let me make sure we understand what we're doing here. The proposal is to accept attachment number 2 or B, right? Is that correct?
That's the one that
Attachment number
staff
2,
recommends?
As it is, what staff recommended.
Correct.
Is that your proposal?
This one.
I wanna make sure.
Yes, that one.
That one.
Yeah.
That's staff's recommendation.
Staff
staff
recommendation
recommendation.
for attachment number 2.
Right.
Okay, everybody knows what it is? Let's start that
got-
off. Let's start all over.
Yes.
Okay, Ivy,
I won't mess around, yes.
Lorena,
No.
Stewart,
Yes.
Devin,
Let me see that too.
Oh. Yes.
who's gonna pass anyway?
Where are we here? Number 12A is City Attorney's Business, ordinance number 1448, amending section 23-1 of City Code and orders the second reading. Mr. Swain, please.
The ordinance is entitled an ordinance amending section 23-1 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sebring, deleting the requirement for annexation or recorded irrevocable annexation request as a condition proceeding to providing wastewater collection and treatment service, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
I make a motion we approve ordinance 1448 on second and final reading.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Second from Mr. Ivy. Anyone in the audience like to address this issue on the second and final reading?
Wait and get somebody.
Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yep.
Detman.
Yes. 12B, Mr. Swain, once again, will be ordinance 1449, modifying the size of boathouses and docks, second reading.
For your consideration, it is entitled an ordinance amending Article 2 of Chapter 25 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sebring to require that the sizes of boathouses and docks comply with Florida Department of Environmental Protection regulations, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
I make a motion we approve ordinance 1449 on second and final reading.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone for the audience like to chime in on this second and final reading? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. City Administrator's Business offered to donate a lot to the city.
Good evening, council. We had contact by Richard Vandenbroek. He would like to donate a lot located, it's in the county at 1945 Canary Way. It's way out, past Payne Road. But potentially, if the city were to ever acquire, and if you take a look at the property appraiser's page attachment, there's, you'll see the lot outlined in blue.
Right.
And just to, I'm gonna call it the south of it, I don't know that it's the south of it, but on this page it is. That's a water plant.
That's the old one. plan.
Okay.
Yep.
If we were to ever acquire that water plant, that would be a
Yep.
good piece of property to own.
Amen.
Would.
Good. I mean, with that water plant owns the property to the left of that already. And then
Well-
it's like 10 acres that they own to the
Well-
south, so that's just not a small, I mean, it's a nothing lot, but it's,
Yeah.
what do we need it for?
It may be access. That's the road coming in.
Yeah.
The road at that access right there, that,
Oh, that's true.
this is to the left
the-
is
to
owned
the
by
left
that
is
same
owned.
waterworks company.
Oh, the one right to the left of the,
Yeah,
bl- the
where
one in
where
blue?
the road is
White
on
line
there, the
goes
white
through.
line on there?
So there
Right.
already is access.
There's already
But they're
access
cutting
there.
across the corner of that lot.
Well, no, I mean, you just straighten it out though,
Yeah.
cause that road, you can see
So-
where the road goes around, but
What's on that lot now, scrub?
Yeah.
that's all, I mean, it's just a.
Yeah,
fucking
we
lot.
went out there and visited it. I mean, there's nothing, there really is nothing out here. You'll see that there's a home here,
Place to
but there's
camp.
not much more.
Well,
So the question would be is, do you wanna own some additional land near that water plant?
But
That's
the
just
water
another
plant
lot.
lot is 10 acres, isn't it?
Uh,
And that
it's-
water plant sits on the north end of that.
It's not insignificant.
I didn't say that.
so you feel like it's a good idea?
I I don't really see the negative. I don't see anybody buying.
We don't have to mow it.
No, it's all scrub.
It's all
Scrub.
scrub, right
Yeah,
now.
I had to mow it.
What's the problem, Mayor? Spit it out.
I mean, it just,
Open up a spot for a couple of camping spots.
I was gonna say, if we don't need it, what do we got it for, you know?
Well, but it's not gonna eat anything.
No,
It's not
that's
gonna
true. I
cost
mean,
us
it's up to
anything
you.
either.
It is up to
I
us.
wish I had a vote in this, but I'm not gonna tell you how I would vote, because you guys will probably mess it up. so.
Okay,
I'm
so-
just, no, it doesn't matter to me, you're taking it off the tax rolls, which isn't off our tax roll.
No?
Right. So,
What's it worth, $2,500 maybe?
Yeah, or
About
whatever.
500 probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, never less.
And I'm not sure there's a whole lot of value in the future because it sits right next to the
Right.
Yeah.
Next to a sewer plant.
water plant.
Right, I meant water plant.
Well, just know this, there's
I know
no
you wanna
more
make a-
land being made.
Yeah.
It's
That's
a
what my
lot,
daddy
it's a
always
lot
said.
that big.
Leonard, I know you wanna make a motion, go
I
right
make
ahead.
a motion, we accept the donation of the lot.
The mayor and I second that.
Sure, it's a second on that. Anyone in the audience like to talk about the
That's
donation
funny.
of the lot in the middle of
Give it to
nowhere?
Habitat.
Give it to Habitat. All right, hearing nothing here, Kathy, if you'll call the roll, please.
Cardile.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. City clerk's business.
Council needs to approve the payment of the bills, please.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Anybody wanna question anything that's on the bill run? Kathy, call the roll.
Cardile.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yep.
Detman.
Yes.
That's all.
Any other business before the council this evening? We'll adjourn.